Over the course of my life, video games have become a staple in my hobbies and have influence on who I am today. For example, most of us know the Gran Turismo games for the PlayStation. I grew up playing Gran Turismo 3 and Gran Turismo 4, and they have a very special place in my heart. Another important aspect of video games is storytelling. Who could forget Half-Life, Metal Gear Solid, The Last of Us, anyone? Storytelling is powerful in video games, can be even considered art. But enough of that. The whole point of that was to make a statement of how games help one another, of how games shaped our childhoods. I'm 23 and I still play a shit ton of games. Recently, I've played System Shock for the very first time and thought it was brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my review of System Shock 2.
Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone, panting and sweating as you run through my corridors. How can you challenge a perfect, immortal machine?
System Shock 2 was designed by Ken Levine, the man who also created the spiritual successor to System Shock, BioShock. It was also co-developed by Irrational Games and Looking Glass Studios. I find the backstory somewhat fascinating, as this game wasn't intended to be a sequel to System Shock. It was more of a standalone game. Development began in 1997, and early story ideas where the player would be tasked to assassinating an insane commander on a starship. The original title was called Junction Point. It took about 18 months of creating the game with a budget of $1.7 million. Electronic Arts suggested it would become a sequel to System Shock instead. The team agreed, and the project allotted 1 year to be completed, and had changed a whole lot to incorporate the story into System Shock. Development encountered a lot of mishaps, including disagreements about job assignments, and caused employees to quit. Also, many were inexperienced. If there were more time, the game would have been more polished, and would have seen a better product in the end. After months of developing, the teams finally released System Shock 2 on August 11th, 1999 for Windows.
February 3rd is the day the magic happens. The Von Braun, the first starship in history capable of traveling at...
System Shock 2 takes place 42 years after the first game. The game takes place on the starship Von Braun, the first starship that has faster than light speed. The Von Braun also has the Rickenbacker, a UNN space vessel. The player is a soldier with cybernetic enhancements and wakes up from a cryotube with amnesia. He learns that the vast spaceship has an outbreak from a genetic infection that has devastated the ship, and must stem the outbreak from getting worse. Gameplay mechanics have increased in dexterity and includes RPG elements.
Welcome to the Ramsey Center UNN recruitment facility. Please watch your step when leaving the train. The grav shafts at the end of the hall.
Movement is somewhat clunky and slow at first, but over time I got used to it due to upgrades with cybernetic abilities. It includes an amalgamation of RPG and survival horror genres. The player can have abilities using psionic powers and can upgrade skills by cyber modules. Skills can range from cybernetic enhancements to repairing and hacking. The player can also use weapons like guns, energy weapons, exotic weaponry, and melee weapons. As with the first game, controls are somewhat convoluted, as I was confused for the first hour trying to get how to use my pistol I picked up when it says need standard 1 to use. I would assume first time players also experience this, as it doesn't really give you much information firsthand. So I just used my wrench a whole lot till I finally found out about skill points for various weapons. Starting out, you have your inventory management on the top. It works as slots, and weapons take up 3 slots, and some items take up 1 slot each. The bottom left has your cyber modules, which are basically skill points that you can use to upgrade various skill trees at these upgrading stations. It also has your nanites counter, which are in-game currency that you can use to purchase items at replicators and be used in various tasks like hacking and repairing. A question mark, which you can press and guide it towards anywhere in your HUD, and will give you useful information if you are lost. The map which you can also review your position and other landmarks. You can also add markers and name them if you forget a certain objective location. A research button, which you can research unresearched items and learn to do more damage against enemies. You will need chemicals from chemical storage rooms to research an item. A health meter, which can be filled up by medical hypos, medkits, and surgery tables. A psionic points meter, which is used by using psionic powers. And on the bottom right, you have log data, which you can find logs lying around in the ship, left by various dead or living workers. These logs can be vital information like security passcodes and certain locations of interest and can progress the plot.
Media. Forget about patents. What we found on Tau City will change everything.
The second is a list of keycards, and an MDF, which shows you your rig and stats. The last one shows you your current type of ammunition. Most of the guns can have various types of ammo, which can damage or affect enemies depending on their armor, or if they are soft-skinned. For example, you can use armor-piercing rounds to damage robots heavily. Yes, it's a lot to take in considering the last game already had a confusing HUD itself, but honestly, if you give it at least 10 minutes of studying, you should be able to handle it in no time. Enemies in the game range from hybrids, workers who are infected with a parasite, to robots and cyborgs. I think this game's biggest accomplishment is its atmosphere and tone.
We welcome you to our mass, but you puzzle us. Why do you serve our mother?
System Shock 2 is much darker and more somber due to the setting and graphics. From System Shock 1, it had a more aesthetically pleasing setting that was really fun to play through and had some moments of tense gameplay. But with this game, they dial up the horror-themed aspect of it, and I absolutely love it. There are some areas that really felt tense and suspenseful due to the sound design and can even be chilling. This game does a great job of making you feel alone. Take this one scene for example. There's a casino on recreational deck and everything seems quiet for a moment, and then you hear the ghostly voices of past people that were once part of this society. Now there's no one left. That's really fucking cool stuff.
The Polito form is dead, insect. Are you afraid? What is it you fear?
The end of your trivial existence.
I am Shodan.
In the previous game, the hacker jettisoned one of the groves that was badly infected with the virus Shodan was experimenting with. After the hacker beat Shodan at the end of System Shock, Shodan has survived 42 years later with the grove, but she was in a deep sleep. The virus that was on that grove has evolved out of her control to where they develop their own intelligence and are known as the Many.
Do you not trust the feelings of the flesh? Our biology yearns to join with yours.
4 decades later, during the trip on the Von Braun, they get a distress signal from Tau Ceti, a planet on which the grove crash landed on, that had the virus and, of course, Shodan. Workers got infected and somehow brought it back on the ship, which infected the entire crew, and that is where you wake up. This is, in my opinion, masterful storytelling. We don't need to see it. We can see how it developed through audio logs of dead workers on how it happened. And yes, Shodan is again fucking amazing and terrifying. Overall, I had a very fun time with System Shock 2. I was very eager to play it once I've completed System Shock and wanted to know where the story was going after, and I'm very pleased about it. Sure, the game is flawed. If the developers had more time to work on it, it would have been more of a masterpiece than it already has. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. It took me a lot of time in editing. I always wanted to make a video like this on a greater scale. See you all on my next video.
Marie, this is urgent.
Your cybernetic implants. The only beauty in that meat you call a body.
If you vow